In the ruthless world of professional cycling, careers are forged by momentum and shattered in a matter of seconds. One moment you're chasing victory, the next you're fighting to stand again. On a cold, unforgiving afternoon, during what should have been nothing more than a routine race day, the fragile balance of the sport collapses. The peloton surges forward at full speed, nerves stretched tight, tension hanging heavy in the air like a coming storm. Then it happens. A violent crash rips through the bunch. Carbon frames splinter, metal screams against the asphalt, and bodies are hurled across the road in a blur of chaos. Wheels spin uselessly, jerseys tear, and time seems to freeze. For a brief, haunting moment, the noise fades, and silence takes its place. Among the riders lying motionless on the ground is a name everyone knows. Just days ago, he was a favorite, a contender spoken about with confidence and expectation. Today, he doesn't move. Television cameras cut away in discomfort, commentators lower their voices, and fans watching from around the world feel the same chilling question take shape in their minds. Is this the end of everything he worked for? The hospital room is filled with the sharp smell of disinfectant and something heavier, uncertainty. Machines beep softly as doctors choose their words with caution. Broken bones, torn ligaments, months of rehabilitation, maybe years. Some injuries, they admit, never fully heal. For a cyclist whose entire life, identity, and future depend on the strength of his body, every sentence lands like a blow. Outside the room, the verdict is far less gentle. The headlines are ruthless. Career in doubt. He may never return to his best. Pundits analyze, critics speculate, and fans argue over whether he has already ridden his final race. In professional cycling, sympathy is brief and patience is rare. The calendar doesn't stop. New races arrive, new champions are crowned, fresh stories capture the spotlight, and slowly, almost without anyone noticing, his name begins to disappear from conversations, from start lists, from memory. Rehabilitation is a lonely, unforgiving road. While former teammates line up at start lines across Europe, chasing glory and headlines, he is confined to quiet rooms and empty gyms, relearning the most basic movements. First, how to walk without pain. Then, how to turn the pedals again. And finally, how to suffer, silently, privately, day after day, with no crowds, no cameras, and no applause. There are moments when quitting feels not only tempting, but logical. Sponsors stop calling, messages from fans fade away, encouragement turns to polite silence. Even mirrors become enemies, reflecting a body scarred, weakened, and unfamiliar, one that no longer feels like it belongs to an elite athlete. At night, when the world grows quiet, the doubts grow louder. Why keep going? What if I'm never the same again? Comebacks don't begin with victories. They begin with decisions, quiet, uncomfortable choices made when no one is watching. One morning, long before sunrise, he clips into his bike, alone. The roads are empty, the world still asleep. There are no cameras following him, no crowds lining the barriers, no commentators waiting for a story. Just the cold air burning his lungs and pain echoing through every movement of his body. Each pedal stroke feels heavier than the last, a reminder of everything he lost and everything that still hurts. He tells himself this ride isn't about winning anymore. It isn't about podiums, contracts, or headlines. It's about showing up, about proving to himself first that he still belongs on a bike, that the crash didn't take everything from him. Some days the legs respond, other days they don't. Progress is slow, uneven, and brutally honest. This ride becomes a ritual. Day after day, before the sun rises, he returns to the same roads. Mile after mile, he rebuilds what was broken: muscle, confidence, belief. There are setbacks, moments when doubt creeps back in, when quitting feels easier than continuing. But he rides anyway. And somewhere in the repetition, in the suffering no one sees, strength begins to return. Not all at once, not dramatically, but quietly, steadily, without headlines, without applause. Long before the world notices, the comeback has already begun. Months later, his name appears on a start list once again. It barely causes a ripple. Expectations are low, almost non-existent. Commentators mention him only in passing, their tone polite but doubtful. Good to see him back, but his form is a big question mark. He lines up at the back of the peloton, surrounded by younger riders, sharper legs, and louder ambitions. From the first kilometer, the suffering returns, legs burning, lungs screaming, every acceleration a reminder of how far he still has to go. He fights for position, loses the wheel, regains it, then loses it again. The podium is never a possibility. But he doesn't abandon. He digs in, kilometer after kilometer, refusing to step off the bike. When he finally crosses the line, it's far from the cameras and far from the spotlight. No celebration, no interviews, just exhaustion. Yet for him, it changes everything. Because for the first time since the crash, he isn't just training to come back, he has come back. Progress is never linear. Just when confidence begins to return, another obstacle appears. Pain flares up without warning. Illness interrupts momentum. A mechanical failure strikes at the worst possible moment, turning hope into frustration in a matter of seconds. The critics return, louder than before. The comeback was a nice story, but unrealistic. He hears it all: the doubts, the dismissals, the quiet predictions of failure. But this time, something is different. Instead of fighting the noise, instead of wasting energy proving people wrong, he lets it fade into the background. He focuses on what he can control: the work, the discipline, the next pedal stroke. And in that silence, his resolve grows stronger. Something has changed. He no longer races with desperation, chasing moments as if they might disappear. Now he races with patience. Calm replaces panic. Experience replaces fear. Where others react, he waits. Where others burn matches too early, he measures his effort and trusts his instincts. Teammates begin to notice the difference. Directors notice it too: the composure, the intelligence, the quiet authority in the peloton. Slowly, responsibility returns. A turn at the front, a role in the final kilometers, small signs of trust that mean everything. He is no longer the promising future star everyone once talked about. He is something else now. He is the survivor. Then comes that race, the one every rider circles on the calendar, the kind that defines seasons and careers. The profile is brutal: relentless climbs, narrow roads, and weather that refuses to cooperate. Rain, wind, cold, a day designed to expose weakness and punish hesitation. From the opening kilometers, the race explodes. Early attacks fly as contenders test each other, probing for cracks. The favorites trade glances and mind games, each afraid to move too soon. And through it all, he stays hidden in the chaos, quiet, patient, watching every move, calculating every effort. For the first time in years, something dangerous stirs inside him. Not hope, not optimism, belief. On the final climb, the pace detonates. What was controlled suddenly becomes chaos. Riders crack one by one, slipping backward as faces twist in agony and legs finally give out. The mountain strips away every illusion. Then he stands on the pedals. The attack isn't violent or desperate. It's measured, precise, smooth, almost calm, as if he's following a plan only he can see. He doesn't look back. He doesn't hesitate. The commentators erupt, disbelief spilling into their voices. Wait, is that him? This is unbelievable! The gap begins to open. 5 seconds, then 10. The favorites glance at each other, waiting for someone else to respond. No one commits, no one reacts in time, and suddenly he is gone. Behind him, chaos erupts. Teams hesitate, unsure who should chase. Leaders glance at one another, each waiting for someone else to take responsibility. Years of expectation and pressure weigh heavier than the climb itself, paralyzing even the strongest legs. But he doesn't look back. Every pedal stroke carries the memory of hospital rooms, the smell of disinfectant, and the sound of doctors choosing their words carefully. Lonely dawn rides, empty roads, endless doubt. Pain no longer frightens him. He has lived inside it for too long. Now it's familiar, and this time it works for him. The crowd senses what's happening, and the realization spreads like electricity. The noise crashes down from the mountainsides, a wall of sound rolling through the climb like thunder. Flags wave, voices blur together, and the moment suddenly feels enormous. 1 kilometer to go. The radio screams in his ear, urgent and desperate. Full gas! You can do this! His vision narrows, the world fades. There is no crowd, no doubt, no past, only the road ahead, the rhythm of his breathing, and the final meters ticking away. He crosses the finish line alone. For a moment there is no celebration, no arms raised. He simply leans over the bars and breathes, trying to understand what just happened. The noise surrounds him, but it feels distant, unreal. Then the truth finally hits. He's back. Tears mix with sweat as the weight of everything he's carried comes rushing in. The crash, the hospital rooms, the lonely miles, the years of doubt. Teammates sprint toward him, voices breaking as they shout his name. Arms wrap around him, smiles replace disbelief. The comeback is complete. The interviews feel surreal, unfolding in a blur of microphones, cameras, and unfamiliar faces. Just hours ago, he was alone on the road, fighting himself. Now the world wants answers. Flashing lights, shouted questions, disbelief written across every face. It all feels distant, almost unreal. "Did you ever stop believing?" a reporter asks, pushing the microphone closer. He pauses, really pauses. He looks down, searching for the right words, replaying years of pain and silence in his mind. When he finally looks up, his eyes tell the story before his voice does. "Yes," he says softly, "many times." The crowd goes quiet. It's not the answer anyone expects, but it's the truth. He talks about the doubt, the injuries, the nights when walking felt harder than racing, the mornings when getting on the bike required more courage than attacking a climb. He doesn't hide the fear or pretend the belief was always there. And somehow that honesty makes the victory even bigger. Because this win wasn't a comeback built on confidence alone, but on resilience, on persistence, on the decision to keep going even when belief was gone. This win doesn't rewrite statistics, it doesn't shatter records, redefine eras, or instantly change how history books will rank him among the sport's legends. But it rewrites something far more important. It rewrites meaning. In a sport obsessed with numbers, watts per kilo, time gaps, podium counts, contracts, and rankings, this comeback stands as a quiet rebellion. It reminds everyone watching that cycling is not only about domination, control, or perfection. It is also about endurance in its purest form, about surviving what was supposed to end you. This victory isn't just a result on a spreadsheet. It is proof that greatness can exist beyond medals and margins, that it can live in persistence, in patience, in the willingness to return after being written off, forgotten, or doubted. Because sometimes the most powerful achievement in sport isn't winning at your peak, it's finding your way back at all. Cycling is cruel. It asks for total devotion, every hour, every ounce of strength, every piece of belief, and it offers no guarantees in return. It gives nothing for free. One crash, one illness, one wrong moment can undo years of sacrifice, discipline, and dreams in an instant. The road doesn't care who you are or what you've already given. But sometimes, against all logic and expectation, the sport shows a different side. Rare, unforgiving, yet fair in its own brutal way. It allows a rider to come back, to try again, to redefine himself not by what he lost, but by what he refused to let go of. And when that happens, the second chance means more than any trophy, because it isn't just about racing again, it's about being seen again, believed in again, becoming whole again. In a sport that so often takes everything, that gift is the rarest of all, a second chance. Years from now, the results will blur. Times, stages, and classifications will fade into the background as new races are won and new champions rise to take their place. Records will be broken, jerseys will change hands, the sport will move forward as it always does. But this story will remain, because the most unbelievable comeback in modern cycling was never really about winning a single race or standing on the top step of a podium. It was about something far deeper, about refusing to accept the ending that was written for him, about choosing persistence over surrender when disappearing would have been easier.